Bozo's Circus is on the air. With Bozo, the world's greatest clown. Oliver, oh Oliver. Sandy the Tramp. Bob Smith. Bob Trundler and his big top band. Master Ned, that's me, and a cast of thousands.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vanished Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanis. This is episode 55, season 3. Today's date is September 4th, 2021. And I hope you can join me. That was the introduction of Bozo Circus with Ringmaster Ned. And I hope you can join me today this is a special episode. This is the 60th anniversary of Bozo Circus that first aired September 11th, 1961. And I will talk about the history of that, and today's date is September 4th, 2021. The anniversary is next Saturday on September 11th. And right now I'm going to talk about the character of Bozo Circus, how it became, and it should be very interesting. So, Bozo the Clown was created in 1946, and it went on the air in 1949 in Los Angeles, and it ran for 1 year. The actor's name was Pinto Colvig. The character was created by a man named Alan W. Livingston, and after that, the rights to Bozo were purchased by Larry Harmon, and it became a common franchise all over the United States, and more TV stations featured Bozo as the character. There was one in New York, Boston, and then later on it became in other countries such as Mexico, Brazil, and Greece, Australia, and Thailand. And one of the men that portrayed Bozo was Willard Scott, and that was in Washington D.C. And he was best known as the weatherman from the Today Show on NBC. The one in Boston, his name was Frank Arverick. He was Bozo for about 11 years. And let's see. And then we had Bob Bell, the most famous one of all in Chicago. And later on, Joey Dararia. He took over after Bob Bell retired. After that, it became an anime series. It was called Bozo, the World's Most Famous Clown. And the voice was Larry Harmon. And they produced about a total of 157 5-minute shorts. And there were 20 in 1958, 85 in 1959, and then there was a 2-year gap, and there were 52 in 1962. And he had his sidekick Butch, Butchie Boy. I remember that. And they were fun. They were fun to watch. They were shown on the Bozo show for many years. And then they started doing in Chicago, that is, on Bozo Circus, but it was called Bozo the Clown, and it featured Bob Bell, and he was the only cast member. And Don Sandberg, who plays Sandy the Clown, he produced it. And it premiered on June 20th, 1960, and it was a half-hour show. And it only showed Bob Bell in his Bozo outfit. And he introduced cartoons, and he did some sketches, but it was not in a circus. It was just him speaking to the kids. And at the end of the show, he lifted off his shoes, and it said goodbye on each sole of the shoes. Okay. And then the show ran until January to 1961 because WGN moved from the Tribute Tower to 2501 West Bradley Place in Chicago on the north side. And it's been there ever since. And because they wanted a big studio, and they planned to do Bozo Circus. And then right before the debut, they got the cast assembled. And they found the ringmaster was played by Ned Locke. And he played Skipper Ned on the old TV series Paddle Boat. And on the last show of that series, he was handed a ringmaster costume, and he told the audience, and he told the kids, "I'm going to the circus now." I wish I'd seen that show. That would have been interesting. Anyway, right now I'm going to play. No, I'm not going to play. I'm going to discuss a little more. Then the show premiered on September 11th, 1961. The funny thing about it, Bozo was not there on the first episode. Bob Bell did not portray him for some crazy reason behind the scenes. And that was a big mistake. So he did appear on the second show. And that took off. It got very popular. And then they got the cast assembled. There was Sandy the Clown and, Remastered Ned. And then the cast of thousands. Actually, it was a studio with only held 200 people. So it wasn't that big. And the show consisted of sketches with Bozo and Sandy, and also then Oliver came, played by Ray Rayner. He came in November of that year, and they always put on funny skits, and Bozo always tricked these guys into their schemes, so it's funny like that. And then they had circus acts. And then the grand prize game was introduced, and it was called Bozo Buckets. And grand prize game was called later on, and that was Don Sandberg. He created that. You would have 6 buckets. You throw a ping pong ball, and first they selected a boy and a girl. Also, first they did the arrows, the magic arrows. They did that, and then they would select a boy or girl. Usually land on a mom or a dad, and they wouldn't get that. And then a boy and a girl are selected, and then Mr. Ned would hand the silver dollars to the boy, and he would drop a number 6, and that would accumulate each episode if you didn't win the bucket number 6. And I'm going to play a clip of the grand prize game right now, and I hope you can enjoy it.
Are you all set for more fun? Good, because right now it's time to play our grand prize game. The whole world wants to play the game, but of course there isn't time for that. Our players, one boy and one girl, will be chosen by the tips of the magic arrows. Mr. Bob, please.
Okay, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed that. Then we'll talk a little more about the game. I love the prizes they had. And for example, if a boy, the girl placed the ball in bucket number 1, and then the Bob Trendle would play the orchestra. And they would play, and they go ding, ding, and then you won, and then you get the prizes. And Bozo or Oliver or Sandy would show you what you've won, and so it was either a board game or some kind of toy, and the adults would get either a gift certificate from the restaurant, or the most famous one is pantyhose for the mother, which is hilarious. And by the way, it was Mr. Bob. His name was Bob Trendler. I always get his name mixed up. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so the grand prize game was a lot of fun to watch. I used to practice that with my brothers when we were growing up. We would borrow some cups or buckets from my mother, and we get a ball and we practice. And they did market that game later on, and it was sold at toy stores like Children's Bargain Town, Toys R Us, any department store, you would find it. Okay, so that's that's the game. And then later on, it was very tense. If you got all 5 buckets and you want to get bucket number 6, and then it get very stressful. And then they do a drum roll for bucket number 6, and then if you lose, it'll go nee 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 nee. You lost the game, but you keep the prices that you got from the other buckets. And then when you won bucket number 6, and then they would play the music, and everyone would get excited. The audience would roar. Bozo would be jumping up and down, and Then you either have Oliver or Cookie the Clown riding the Schwinn bike. That was the big prize. I think it always been that way. That was always like that. Okay, I'm going to play a clip from people that the child would hit bucket number 6, and it's also the Bozo, and then the introduction of Bozo the drum, and also Bozo when you lose the grand prize game. Okay, so here are the clips.
I'm going to put you to work. Take the dollar, please, and put it in bucket number 6. Thank you, Jim. $13 in bucket number 6. $13, and we'll add $1 every day until someone wins them all. $13 plus a Schwinn fastback bicycle and lots of other prizes. And now, for all you boys and girls at home, let's go over to the Bozo drum. Come on, Corleen. Jim. Stand by at home. Let's play the game. Both toes right on the line here, Jim. You have to back up just a little bit. Atta boy, right here. Good boy. Giant Tootsie Roll candy for you. You'll like that. And your folks will like this. A free certificate for Acoma's barbecued chicken in a basket. Jim number 2, right here. Atta boy. From the Hawk Model Company, a Go-Mobile, and it floats, too. It's fun. Number 3, Jim. Atta boy. Here is the certificate for a pair of Robin Hood shoes of your choice from Carson Perry Scott. Jim, take your time now, number 4. Put her there, partner. You did a good job.
Okay, that was fun to listen. Right now, I would talk a little more about the show. I'll talk about my memories of watching Bozo Circus. I remember some sketches that Bozo, either Cookie or Oliver or Sandy the Clown got involved. And it always involved Bozo have some sort of scheme. And he always wanted something, like, for example, some food or a toy. And you try to convince the guys to give it to him, and he would be very sly about it. One time there was a sketch where Oliver had a banana cream pie, and Bozo wanted it, and then they argued back and forth, and then Oliver said, "Okay, well, will you let me have the pie? I want the pie." And Bozo said, "Gladly," and he threw it in his face. Or sometimes it involved with seltzer water or any things destroyed. I remember Cookie the Clown had his kitchen collapse for some reason. I think they did it on purpose. And sometimes Bozo would ad-lib something, And I remember one sketch when they were going through some junk, Cookie and him, and they found a crown. And Bozo would say, "Here's something for Fleshman's margarine." But it wasn't for Fleshman's. It was for Imperial margarine. He got the wrong margarine. And it's funny. So he had ad-lib a lot, and it was like adult humor. You know, as a kid, you didn't listen to it, but as an adult, you figure it out. And then when they showcased the specials on Channel 9, and then you listen to what he said, they were hilarious. And another character that participated was Golly the Gorilla, and he was funny. Sometimes he wasn't dangerous, but he was kind of scary when he was let out of his cage. So that was hilarious on that. Anyway, the show became very popular. It was at 12 noon every day, Monday through Friday. They did show reruns in the late 60s on Saturdays, but that was very brief. And the show consisted of, the grand prize game. They had the sketches. They introduced cartoons, Bozo the Clown cartoons. They had Rocky and Bullwinkle, sometimes Pink Panther. And then they had contests for the kids. You would, like the egg spoon contest, or with the balloons, the kids would put the balloon between their heads and race over, or they had tug of war. I remember that. And they had musical chairs too, which was fun. I know it's outdated, but it's a lot of fun. And then, the show was very popular, and then you tried to get tickets for it, but you couldn't, so it was hard. you had a 10-year waiting list. So if you were planning on a family and you have children, you can order them while you gave birth or even before that, and then they would get on the show at least when they're 10 years old, which is kind of strange. Even before you get married, if you're dating someone, you're planning on getting tickets at Bozo. And so it was interesting. So the cast of the show, I would read off, and there was Bozo, there was Bob Bell, Oliver, played by Ray Rayner. There was Sandy, played by Don Sandberg. Ringmaster Ned by Ned Luck. There was Mr. Bob by Bob Trendler. Cookie the Clown by Roy Brown. And Wizzo the Wizard by Marshall Brodeen. Wonderful man. And we also had some clowns that were not well known, and they were there briefly. And there was a clown in the early shows. His name was Wimpy. And he was only there for early on in the show. And in the early 70s, there was Elrod T. Potter. He was Oliver's cousin. He was only there for 1 year, played by Pat Tobin. And was Clodhopper. And there was John. He was played by John Thompson. He was a magician. He was only there for 1 year. And then when Ned Luck retired, Fraser Thomas took over. He was there until he passed away suddenly in 1985. And then there was Pat Hurley. He was there for 4 years. He was there on the last year with Bob Bell. Then Bob Bell retired in 1984, and then it was played by Joey Daria. He was there from 1984 till the end in 2001. And then you had Professor Andy. He was the synthesizer. He took over the Bozo band. Then there was Spiffy. Professor Andy was Andy Matran. I think I said that. Then there was Spiffy by Michael Immel. He was there for 3 years. There was Rusty by Robin Urich. He was there for 6 years, from 94 to 2001. And then they had 2 female clowns. And one was Pepper, played by Kathy Schuckenberg, for 2 years. And for Antonia the Petunia, played by Michelle Gregory. She was there for 4 years, from 94 to 98. Okay, and then the show was a lot of fun, and Bozo was a phenomenon, and I enjoyed the show very much. And then this will be part 1 of the podcast, but I will do part 2 maybe tomorrow, or either tomorrow or Tuesday. So we'll see about that. And I will discuss other memories I had about Bozo is when I was about 3 years old, 3 or 4. We lived in South Shore in an apartment. My mom had a friend, and she came over for lunch, and she wanted to watch her soap opera, As the World Turns. It's not on the air anymore. It was on Channel 2, right after Lee Phillip. She had her talk show. And she wanted to watch the soap opera, but I went over and I said, Bozo, and I changed the channel. I knew what channel it was on. It was on Channel 9. And I was 3 or 4, and my mom and her were amazed that I remembered the time and the channel at that age. And my mom's friend was just a little angry, but she was amazed at the same time. She understood, but she was hooked on that soap opera, and I want to watch Bozo. After all, it was my TV and my house. So that is fine with that. Anyway, so right now I'm going to play a clip for when Mr. Ned introduces Who's Your Favorite Clown. And that is a classic. So here you go.
Give me a loud answer to this question. Who's your favorite clown?
That's me!
Okay, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed the introduction of Bozo. That was fun. Oh, I love his laugh. It was hilarious. And then towards the end of the show, I mentioned before, they had the contest, and then you had the Grand March. And it seems like Bozo always led the Grand March at the end of the show, but there were times that Oliver or Sandy or Cookie the Clown, especially him, wanted to do it, and Bozo would not allow it. They always ask Mr. Ned, and he goes, no, he's the star of the show, he will do that. And then I think on the last episode, I think Cookie the Clown did lead it, from what I've heard. And that's good. He deserved it because he's always the butt of jokes, always a sap, but Bozo always tricked him like that. Okay, that'll be all for part 1 of the 60th anniversary of Bozo Circus. This is episode 55, season 3, and I'm your host, Pika Stanis. Hopefully I will do the second part of the show either tomorrow or Tuesday. We will see about that. I will also create a video for Bozo Circus that will be coming up very soon, and also write a story on my blog, which is vanishchicagoland.blog. Part 2, I will discuss about the cast, in a little more depth, and how the show ended, and that would be, it's kind of heartbreaking, but, that's history. So, yes, it will be a lot of fun. And then, I will post this on my social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and also on YouTube. And I hope you can enjoy it. And it'll be very interesting because the anniversary is coming up next Saturday. I will post photos from time to time of that. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. It'll be posted on podcast, like, for example, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. You can download the apps and you can listen in. I found out it's on Amazon Music, so you can find that. Also, I think it's, what's the other one called? I can't think of it. I'll let you know tomorrow. Okay, so this is Pika Stanis signing off, and here is the Grand March that Mr. Ned is thanking the audience, and Bozo is leading the way, and the audience members are leaving the circus. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
And of course, we thank you very much for letting us be with you. We hope that it was an enjoyable hour for you. It was for us, it always is. And now, if you will, stand up, please, and join us in our Grand March.